Welcome back, guys. I'm in the garage today with the M4 and I'm going to do a spark plug change. Now, I've been doing a lot of research recently and there is a lot of different information. I wouldn't say misinformation, but incomplete information probably on some of the specifics on this. So I'm going to try to give you a bunch of the information that I found online, and if there is something that is still incomplete in this video that you know about, please put it down in the comments below so that other people coming along will be able to learn. Now, like almost everything on my channel, I've never done this before. I'm just gathering the information and I'm going to figure it out myself, and hopefully the information and the process will be helpful. So this is my car. It is a 2015 M4 and it is Dynon Stage 3. So the spark plugs I'm going to use are the NGK ones that have been recommended. A lot of people say that the factory ones are not very good and that they can crack easily. So pretty much a consensus is these NGK plugs. So now I'm going to go over some of the technical information that I've found on forums, as well as some BMW manuals, ISTA plus information, etc. If you're not interested in that and you just want to go straight to the how to get to the spark plugs, I'm going to post the time right up here. You can go ahead and skip in the video to this time. All right, so these are the plugs I ordered. I got a 4-pack of them, and since I only need 6, I got 2 single ones. You can see that these are the number 97506. And for this process, I also got a thin-walled 12.14 millimeter spark plug socket, because you're gonna need a thin-walled one to be able to reach down in there and get the spark plugs. And I got this gapping tool. So that brings us to the first information that was not straightforward while I was looking for it. These come from Amazon pre-gapped to 0.032, it says. And it says that's what's recommended for my car. However, online, I've heard anything from 0.018 to 0.023. And a lot of that depends on your tune. So I have links to all of this stuff down below in the description so you can find the exact parts that I'm using. Okay, so this is pre-gapped. Let me show you. All right, this particular gapping tool, the largest it has is 0.032. You can see on there, and that one does not quite fit under here. The next one is 0.030. and that one will slide under the tip. So it looks like it's gapped at 030 or 031, but that is not what I want. So the most popular and complete video I found on this spark plug change said to gap them at 0.020, and that if you were gonna run E85 fuel to go to 0.018. However, I found a BMW/Dynon mechanic, at least that's what he claimed, on one of the forums that said if you are running Dynon Stage 3, which I have, or most other tunes, as long as you are under 30 PSI of boost, to gap to 0.023. The other thing that's kind of inconsistent information is the torque specs to put them in. Now, this same video said to torque them to 18 foot-pounds, but actual BMW specs that I found said to torque them to 23 Newton meters for the M12 size spark plugs, and for the M14 size to torque them to 30 Newton meters. So the first thing you have to do, apparently there are 2 different widths of spark plugs that went into these cars, so you need to measure them. All right, I'm just gonna take this spark plug and measure it, and you can see this is an M12. So are there some cars with M14s out there? I have no idea. So since I have an M12 sized spark plug, the book calls for 23 Newton meters for the torque on it. However, that same Dynon BMW tech on the forum said that these are very delicate spark plugs and to under torque them a little bit. His recommendation was from 18 to 20 Newton meters. So I'm gonna go with his recommendation and do 20 Newton meters of torque with a 0.023 gap. So as far as gapping these, the gap needs to be a little tighter. So I'm just going to press down a little bit here, and I'm going to get my 0.023 out. It is this one. So yeah, there's still a huge gap. So surely somebody has a tool or a better way to do the gapping on this, and please put it in the comments below. I only found videos on how to widen the gap, not how to make it smaller. So yeah, I'm going to start measuring with 0.24, because when I can't get that one anymore, it should be good. right, it's not going in there, but 023 still goes in. So we finally got that gapped. So one thing I'm still really curious about is what the stock gap is in my spark plugs right now. So future me will pay us a visit. Hey guys, it's future me, and it is hot in the garage today, and I pulled out a spark plug. So let's investigate what we have. What I gapped all of the new ones to was right here, 0.023. But let's find out what it is actually gapped to. Let me go all the way up to the factory of 032. And it's a little tighter than that. 030. Yep. So it looks like it was gapped to 030. And of course, this is the original M part made by Bosch. And it was made in Germany. Here's the part number stuff. That's what it looked like. Out of curiosity, just to make sure that we're putting in the same thing. Yep, it is a M12. So one final technical aspect that is questioned a lot is how often do you need to change the spark plugs? The information I found from BMW seems to indicate every 3 oil changes. And a lot of people online are saying that they're doing it between every 20 to 30,000 miles, which is pretty frequent. So I usually try to stick to the Mike Miller plan, and I believe his says every 30,000 miles. So that falls in line with this. So for me, from now on, every 30,000 miles. All right, I just completely finished this job, so before I put it all away, I figured I would show you the tools that I used, some pry things to get the little rivets off, a small flathead screwdriver, a couple ratchets. These are the old plugs that came out. Those are the new plugs that went in. And I used a 6mm socket, a 10mm socket, 13 and 16. And then these E-Torques, I used sizes 10, 12, and 14. This is the 14mm thin wall spark plug socket. And then I used a bunch of 1/4 inch and 3/8 inch extensions and swivels, a light, another ratchet, and a torque wrench. Oh, and then this gapping tool to correctly gap my spark plugs. And those are all the tools that I needed. Oh, and of course, this guy. Okay, to the car finally. Now our spark plugs are located right under here. So there's a lot of stuff to remove to get to them. This job does not look to be hard at all. It just is very time consuming with so much removal. So we're gonna have to remove this brace. We're gonna have to remove this. We're gonna have to remove all of the plastic back here, and under there, there is another big metal brace that has to come off. So let's get started. I'm gonna start on the right side of the car and remove this piece here. So I have some pry tools because there's these little push pins all around here that you will find where this little pin in the middle just lifts up. On these fasteners, I like to start with just a little flathead screwdriver to get under them and get them started. Sometimes you'll just have to work your way around and be kind of gentle so you don't break them. But once you get it up a little bit like that, you can grab one of these tools that will slide right under it and give you some more leverage to lift from different directions. Now be careful, if you just pop it like this, these things will pop out and get lost in your engine compartment pretty easily. All right, so once the pin is way up like this, you actually don't even have to take it out. You should be able to get this tool under the entire rivet itself and lift it up. So if you've never seen these before, that pin pushes down into here and spreads these out is what keeps it in place. And just a personal preference from me, I like to take all the parts I take off and just line them up around here. So when I'm putting them back together, I just go in reverse order. Now there are just 3 more fasteners, 1, 2, 3 along the top. You can see that there is a little arrow here and an arrow on the nut itself to show that they're engaged. If you just turn it counterclockwise 90 degrees on all of them, they will release. And then this will just lift up and away. Now you can see that big aluminum brace that we're gonna get to eventually. Next, I'm gonna remove this. It's just a rubber cover on top of the strut mount. And it has 1, 2, 3 more of these same fasteners, and then one flat one right there that just pops right out. All right, actually, maybe there should be 4 of these here because it looks like I'm missing one over here. And this is what the flat one over there looks like. So once they are all off, this will lift out. Oh, and there is one more flat one right here. Okay, and now that comes right off. And you can see my KW Club Sports underneath. I love those things. All right, so on the left side, it is the exact same procedure. We're gonna take off this cover, and then we're gonna take off this cover. Now be careful, under this big red thing is the positive terminal of your battery, and your entire car is a negative ground. So if you lay something that touches the head of this thing to any other piece of your car, it is going to spark and make lots of noises. So you can either disconnect your battery, which I think is a little bit of overkill, or you can just be very careful. And in combination with that, I'm gonna put a rag over that when I get to it so I don't accidentally touch it. Sometimes no matter how careful you are with these things, they're gonna break or just get stuck. I just had to pry this one out with the pin still in it. I'll try to salvage it. If not, these are cheap to replace. So this right here is what you don't want to arc. And in my case, I have a connection here for my C-Tech charger. It's grounded right here, and I can connect it to that terminal down there. Okay, now for this side, and I just realized I was not missing one on the other side. This is actually where the connector for the EDC was that's no longer here, so that's why that looks like that. All right, so as promised, just gonna cover this thing up. And now for the weather stripping, there is a tube that runs through it, so I'm just gonna pop this tube out real quick. Just gently lift the tube all the way out around it from that seal, and now the weather stripping should just pull off and remove it. All right, now it is time to remove this aluminum brace, and you can see that there are several 13mm bolts all the way around it. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and this right here is called an E-Torx or a reverse Torx, and that is a size 12. You need something like this to get that off. Again, link in the description to order all the tools that I'm using. So again, this Milwaukee Fuel, I have the 3/8 inch version of it for my sockets. They have a 1/4 inch and 1/2 inch as well. I figure the 3/8 is very versatile. I can make it go higher or lower with an extension, and it really makes all the jobs that I do on these cars so much easier. And bolt 1 is out just like that. That's what they look like. 3, all 3 of these are the same size. And this E-Torx is actually holding down the aluminum frame, so I'll come back to that one later. And this is how easy this tool is. I'll hold the camera in one hand and remove this with the other. So this is what these look like. The front ones are smaller, and they have this big washer with them. So just knock out one more and work our way around. And the expansion tank here is also holding on this brace with one small 10mm that we have to remove. And with that removed, we can just lift this straight off the car, and it is light enough to carry like this. Now, I would recommend putting this in the grass or somewhere very soft so that it does not get all scratched up. And drop it off in the yard. It's beautiful. So as you can see, we're getting closer. Next, we're gonna remove that big aluminum brace in the back. And there are all of these E-Torques on there. They're all the same size, so I'm gonna start removing those. And right over here on the right side, there is one more 10 millimeter that is connected to the brace. So just take this off. Don't you go anywhere. All right, and then it's just got a little clip in here that releases from that little hole. And on the very end of each brace down in here, you can see that there's another E-Torques, and that is a size 14 that fits on him. All right, now lastly, there are two big bolts holding the center of this brace in, and these are little access panels for it. So I'm gonna try not to tear them up, and you just pry them off with the screwdriver or whatever, and then you can see them in there, and they are monsters. Come here, guys. These two bolts are both 16 millimeters, but I recommend using a long handled wrench because they are on there pretty tight. Make it easier on you. All right, that's what these look like. After all those bolts are removed, you can be very careful not to touch this. And your aluminum brace should just lift up. Actually, it's caught on this little tab here. Lift it over that. And it comes out. See, not too bad so far, just a lot of bolts to undo. Next, we are going to remove this plastic engine cover. And I remember, I think it comes off without taking the cap, oil cap off. Yes, it does. There are just like 4 little rubber grommets that some pegs are stuck into. You can see the little grommets here. You just pull them off the posts and this comes right out. I happened to paint some M striping on there. I got a video for that if you want to do the same. Okay, next up, I'm going to remove this turbo inlet pipe here. Right now, it has 2 hose clamps holding it on. One there and then one down in there. And it has a 6 millimeter. So I can just loosen that one up a little bit. I have to angle my way down to that one down there to get it loose. Okay, I just wanted to show you how I reached this one down here. I got a little swivel in the middle there with a short extension with a 6 millimeter here and then a long extension to get it up here so that it will loosen it. All right, once I had them loosened, I just had to push this. This was really on there pretty hard. I had to firmly press it like that. And then the bottom one should just be able to disconnect and it comes apart. And I'm gonna make sure to put a towel down there real quick. Just a clean, lint-free shop cloth so nothing falls down into the turbo. Next thing I think I'm gonna try to do is remove the 2 charge pipes that are over the top of our engine here. And I'm gonna do that by loosening just the part that's closest to our cooler here on both of them. And if you follow them down, you'll see there's this insulated piece right here. And let's see if I can show it to you. If you just run your hand down the charge pipe right underneath that insulation, you'll be able to feel, and I think that's it right here. Yes, my fingertips are on it right here. And focus is another E-Torques that you are gonna have to get down to with a socket extension, a little swivel action probably, and remove that. So you're just gonna Loosen this one and this one. All right, just want to show you how I'm getting to this one. I have kind of probably a 12-inch extension with a swivel socket, and then a short, just a couple-inch extension, and I can get to it right here. All right, it's important to know that this one is a size 10, not a 12, so it is smaller than the other eTorx ones we've taken off, and you can reach your hand right in there and get to it, and this is what it looks like. So once that's disconnected from the below and this is loose, there is a big hose clipped onto the side of this. Okay, let me show you this. So there's just a tab here that you press down on this tab, and it looks like it should let this go. So now once that's disconnected, I should be able to pull this off of the charge air cooler. Loosen up some more. All right, loosened that a lot now. There we go. Now it'll slide right off once it's loose enough. And this thing should lift straight up. Yes. And this is our charge pipe. And yes, there is an O-ring in there. And I got a little oil in mine. Yeah, a little bit oily in there, so I'll have to clean that out. So I'm sure you wanted to know what it looks like down there. We can see the big opening now that has been left by removing the charge pipe, so I'm going to take another towel and stick it in that opening. Don't want anything falling in there either. All right, now for number 2, it's loose at the top, and this one also has a bolt. If we zoom in there, you can see the bolt right down there. Should also be a size 10. Let me remove that real quick. And that one looks the same. All right, this one's the same. Pull this off of here while pulling up, and it'll pop off. And just gotta gently work it up, because this little edge will get caught under the cover. And this side of mine is actually clean, not really any trace of oil. Don't forget one more rag down in this hole. All right, now there's 2 clips holding this wire onto the engine cover. So I'm just trying to figure out how to release these things. Okay, so it looks like the metal piece stays on there, and these just okay. On this side, the whole metal piece came with it, so I don't know which way is right. I think this is just on here by pressure now. Just lift it up. And back here. All right, it pops off. Now for sliding it out, making sure that these posts don't catch on things. Oh, and we're down to the engine. Okay, so as far as time goes, I'm about an hour and a half in while filming and figuring some of this stuff out myself. So we can see where the coil packs are now. that the spark plugs are sitting in. And I'm just trying to figure out if I have to remove this plastic cover to get to the ones all the way over there. And it looks like I probably do. So it looks like there are just 3 bolts over here. Look like they're 10mm. And this over here, 1 on the inside over here, 2 on the outside. So let me just move out of the way. Let me take that off real quick. Yeah, that was really easy to get out, and once it's out of the way, we have access all the way to the back now. So let's start up front where it's easier to reach. And these things, you're supposed to just be able to lift up like this. And as you lift it up, it's supposed to push this connector out for you, which mine just kind of came off. Hold it. There you go. Mine popped out right here. Instead of pushing the socket out, so I had to kind of hold it in while I lifted it so that it would pull this out like it's supposed to. And now you can pull up on this. And I saw people do this online, and it made me nervous that it would hurt this thing, but I can see that that's pretty solid now. I don't think it's going to hurt it. Just stick a socket extension through and use the leverage on top of that, and it will pull this out. It's just held in there by pressure, and looks like it's in pretty good shape. Looks like down in there, zoom in and we can see our spark plug, and you can see that it is sitting at a little bit of an angle down there. I assume that angle is why people use a thin wall socket, because if it's not thin, it will fit through here, but that curve will probably get it. And people also say they use one of these angly guys. So we're gonna gently stick it down in there. And definitely use hand tools here, not the power tools. And it feels like it is catching on the spark plug. So let me set my camera down. This way. All right. See if I can break it loose here. All right. There it goes. Let's see, is it out? It is out. Oh yeah, that is nice and toasty. Here is a side-by-side comparison with the old one and the new one, the old gap and the new gap. Will this make a difference? Will my car run better now? Will it run worse? Hopefully better, or no detectable change at least. Okay, this is a cool little tool because it will hold it snugly in place. It won't fall out. So I'm going to start it by hand, of course. Drop it in the hole. Turn it carefully, making sure that it is not getting cross-threaded in there, because that would suck. Yeah, you can't really see anything, so you just got to go by feel. Oh yeah, and do not grease it. Don't put any grease in these because you're not supposed to. No anti-seize, no nothing like that. All right, it's going in nice and smoothly. All right, now we're going to torque it. All right, torque wrench. That seems awful loose, and it's only 23 Newton meters. All right, now to put this thing back in, as you can see, it has a little end that sticks out where the wiring came from with a little lightning bolt. And if you remember the orientation this went in, you can see that right here is kind of a little groove that is going to sit into, and all of these are kind of at different angles. So they all go back in slightly differently, but that will help you line it up. So let me just drop him back in. It just gets pushed in by pressure. You'll hear it kind of go. And it does not sit all the way flush down there. So when it's in, it's in. And just push this back in, it'll snap into place. And as you push this part back down, oops. As you push this back down, it should pull your wiring all the way in, but mine for some reason keeps popping off. Okay, now I can feel it pushed all the way in. And it's back down. So yeah, these are not built super sturdily because this keeps popping off the hinges, but you'll know when it's on. So all that's really left now is to go down and replace all 6 in the same way and pat yourself on the back. All right, one quick note on the second one. Nobody ever really goes past showing you the first one using this as leverage. So for this one, I didn't want to use this as leverage because that will probably break. So I just stuck it through and put one hand on each side, lifted straight up, came out no problem. One more tip, you see how crusty and nasty these threads are? Well, if you look down in the hole here at the very bottom, you can kind of see some brown, and that is little flecks of that rust, I think. So I'm gonna put a little vacuum hose down there and suck that out. And I don't know if you can see, but that actually did the job, all gone. All the spark plugs are changed now. So the next thing I'm gonna do is put the little cover back on and reconnect all of our pipes. And I'm gonna fire this thing up before I put all the bracing and everything back on just to test it out. I didn't mention this, I just expect as a good, responsible M owner, you will detail all of these pieces that you took out of the car so that they look all brand new again. Got all the pipes back on, tightened up. Everything mechanical should be in place. Just no braces or some of the artificial coverings. So I'm gonna go ahead and fire it up, see what happens. Fingers crossed. All right, well, that is it. The car runs, sounds good. I'll take it out for a test drive in a minute. If you don't hear anything otherwise, then everything went well. So how long did it take? It was about 3 hours, I would say, with filming. Some people say that they could do it in an hour. I call BS on that because I still don't have all of the stuff put back together. And while I did film, it didn't take 2 hours of filming. Hope this was helpful. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet, and you'll get more cool M4 content, Porsche Boxster content. A lot of my friends do stuff on here, a lot of BMW content in general. All right, thanks again for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time. All right, here is one clean, beautiful engine bay now. Should be running at peak performance now. It was a pretty fun job to get done, very gratifying, and getting it all cleaned up and detailed while going along is just a bonus.